Parsing apps are one of the most useful and important apps for beginning Greek. This is a tool that was just not even available 20, 30, 40 years ago. But it's changing the way we learn Greek today. In this video, I'm going to take a look at the 5 parsing apps that I could find on the market today, talk about the pros and the cons of each one, and I'm going to give you some recommendations and what I think of these at the end of this video. So stay tuned. Hi, I'm Daryl Burling from Master New Testament Greek. I help people with the tools, habits, and systems to master the Greek of the New Testament. If you're interested in learning to read the Greek of the New Testament and to read the New Testament in the original language, go ahead, hit the subscribe button and the notify bell. That way, when I release new videos, you'll find out about them first. And on top of that, if you're interested in these sorts of things, hit the like button. That really helps as well. Before there were parsing apps, there were parsing quizzes. And these were really the most feared part of every beginning Greek student's week. When you come to class, the first thing the professor was going to do is to put 10 to 20 words in front of you and tell you to pass them and give you the inflected form, what it actually meant. And the reason this was so difficult and these events became so feared is that there are so many things to learn in beginning Greek. You have augments, you have reduplication, you have morphemes, you have principal parts, you have endings, primary and secondary endings, and you have all of these elements that you have to try and get into your head and understand them and be able to discern when a word is using one or more of these things and exactly which one it is. So these times became a time of fear and trepidation for Greek students everywhere. So if you relate to that and you went through this, then give this video a thumbs up to let me know. But if we roll forward to today, all of this has changed. The difficulty and even the fear and trepidation of passing quizzes can go away, melt off into the distance forevermore because of these wonderful apps that I'm going to take you through today. And these apps really are helpful. If you're trying to do beginning Greek without a parsing app, you are kind of approaching beginning Greek with a handicap, without all of the tools that you really need. So in this video, I'm going to take a look at all the parsing apps that I could get a hold of here in 2020. We're going to talk about the pros and the cons of each one of them, and I'm going to give you a recommendation for the ones that I think you should use, and we're going to talk about how there's, what's still left to be done in parsing apps. So here we go. Let's get into this. I'm going to start with Greek Verb Parsing by Andrew Steinman. Now, this is one that's fairly recent on the market, probably the newest of all of the ones that I'm familiar with, at least. Certainly, it's the newest to me. Now, it may have been around a little longer, but I don't recall seeing it earlier on. So I think this is a reasonably new app. Now, this is an app that's designed for mobile devices. It's available, I think it was available first on Android, and then it came to the iPhone later on, but it's available on both devices, so it's a multi-platform app. Now, it's kind of a simple app to look at. So it's got a nice, clean interface. And it's got a really good sort of step-by-step approach to parsing. So it's going to start you off and you're basically going to select your starting point, and then it's going to sort of walk you through each element. So what principal part is this? What person is this? What voice is this? What mood is this? And so on. So it's going to walk you through step by step. And one of the nice things about this is it's going to give you instant feedback. So if you're looking at a verb and you're looking at first, second, third person, singular, plural, you get to choose, and it's going to tell you straight away whether you're wrong, and then you can choose the right one, which kind of is quite nice. It allows you to sort of self-correct as you go. The other thing it's going to get you to do at the end of it is it's going to get you to spell out the lexical form. Now, it doesn't need you to put in the accents or anything like that, or even breathing marks, but you can still type in. It gives you a little keyboard, and you just pick away at that keyboard to type in exactly what part you're looking at. So this is quite a nice little app. It's fairly inexpensive as well. It's probably the cheapest on the iPhone at least. Now, there are some things with this app that I think could be improved. First up, one of the first questions it's going to ask you is, what is the principal part? Now, when you first look at this, you might be going, what do you mean principal part? It's in the present tense. Well, principal part is not the tense form, right? So you remember the principal parts from books like Mounce's Basics of Biblical Greek and pretty much every other beginning Greek grammar. This is the different forms in the different tenses, the form that it's going to be for each of these different verb forms. So some professors will have you learn the principal parts, but typically when you learn the principal parts, you're not going to learn them based on a number. And here it's asking you, which number is it? Number 1, 2, 3, 4. And I think this is just confusing. If you're going to ask for the principal part, ask for the tense form, I think is a far better way of doing this. Or the stem that this comes from is a better way of doing this. Or better yet, in my opinion, just leave this question out. Because honestly, when it comes to parsing, I don't think this is necessarily a helpful thing. If you can identify the tense form, that's really all you need. You don't necessarily need to identify the principal part. Yes, it might help you with a parsing quiz. And if that's something you're specifically looking for, then this is the only app out of all the apps I'm reviewing today that actually will ask you for the principal part. But again, asking you the number 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't think that's helpful. It'd be great if you could turn that off in this app. A couple of other little minor things with this one. The controls in this I found a little bit fiddly to use. So if I was redesigning this app, I think I would increase the size of the controls, particularly the keyboard control, which I found on my iPhone XS Max to be too small, really, to be able to comfortably use. You'd be hitting the buttons multiple times to try and get it to register that you're clicking the right button. And one other thing with this, it's only got 2 grammars. And one of those is Machen, which maybe there's somebody out there still teaching using Machen, and another one which is vowels, which I've never come across that grammar before as well. So if you could expand out the grammars that was included in this app, I think that would be really helpful. And then finally with this app, I think the step-by-step process is just kind of cumbersome and slow. So this is a great app. It's a nice simple one if you're just wanting to slow down and look at words one element at a time and just sort of nut it out that way. This is kind of a nice app for that, but I think that asking the principal part is the way it's answered is awkward, and you have to remember the order of the principal parts, and I think it's just unnecessary. So I think this is a good app. I think it's simple, but I think the controls, the step-by-step, and then the principal parts, those things just make this slow to the point almost of being tedious. The next app that I want to bring up to you again is another mobile first app, and this one started on the iPhone and then moved to Android later on. And so this is an iPhone first app rather than an Android first app. It is available on both platforms, and it's just recently been updated, and that is ParseGreeker. Now, the version of ParseGreeker for Android, last time I looked at this, which was a few weeks ago, was not available for Android. That should be available by now, so you should be looking at the new version for this. And I actually did a fuller review of this a few weeks ago on this channel. I'll link to that up above here, so you can go back and look at that fuller video there as well. Now, this has got some great pros. One of the things that I love about this app is it's got so many grammars, and in fact, he's got all the latest grammars, and he's going to be releasing the new grammar by Dr. Merkel and Dr. Plummer when that's released later on this year as well. So this is a great app. It's got lots of grammars, so you can just pick the grammar you're working with, choose the vocabulary and the concepts for each chapter that you want to work with. You can select just the chapter you're working on, or you can go backwards and learn all the previous words as well. It also gives you a hint. You can tap on the word to give you a bit of a hint. Often this will be the principal parts, so you don't have to try and remember them, nor get the order of them right, which is a blessing. It's easy to use, far easier, I think, than Greek verb parsing, and it's also got some default options. So you can choose this as you set up for the first time. You can actually say, save this as the default for next time, which means that if you're using, say, Mounce's Basics of Biblical Greek, next time you open this, after you've selected this for the first time, it won't ask you that again. So this is makes this a little bit easier to get directly into it as well. You're not having to answer those setup questions every time you open the app. This still does have some cons. One of those is that we are still seeing a few bugs in this. First one is that some of the parsings are wrong, and they're just errors. And so what I recommend is send a message or an email to Danny Zacharias. His email address is on his webpage. You can send him an email from there and let him know about those, and he will fix those. And therefore, for that reason, new versions of this are being released pretty regularly, which is awesome. The second thing you'll find is that he's excluded forms that don't occur in the New Testament. Now, that may mean that there are times when you mark something a certain way, you pass something a certain way, but because that form or one of those forms is not found in the New Testament, it's marked incorrect. And I would encourage you to let Danny Zacharias know about that as well, and maybe those can be fixed as well, because honestly, a user of this app does not know which forms are and are not found in the Greek New Testament. So it's better just to be able to say, yeah, this is correct, and to be able to mark it accordingly. So I would encourage you to let Dr. Zacharias know about that and get those fixed as well. But those are the main things that are holding this app back, in my opinion, and they're small. And I think of the two mobile apps here, ParseGreek and Greek verb parsing, this is the stronger of the two by far. Now there is a third one which sits in the middle. Really, it's more of it's a web app that sits in between all of these that I'm talking about, and so it works really well on mobile, and it works pretty well on the desktop as well. And this is mastergreek.com. Now this is a free web-only app. It's got nothing to do with masterntgreek.com, which is my website. Instead, this is mastergreek.com, written by a husband and wife team, one of whom is a Greek professor and one of whom is a software engineer. And so they put this together and made it available for free. So it's totally web-based. It's ideal if you're on mobile. I think it's better on mobile than it is on desktop. I'll explain why in just a moment. This one is nice in the sense that, like ParseGreek, it does not require you to spell out the lexical form of the word. With ParseGreek, for that matter, you can actually require the lexical form or not require it as you wish. I tend to turn that off. In mastergreek.com, you don't have to type in the lexical form at all. You just have to be able to identify the form that it presents you with. This is free, and therefore, because it's a web app, it works on any platform. So this makes this very, very flexible and easily your first one that you should go to if you're just dipping your toes into Greek for the first time. One of the nice things about this app, which sets it apart from the previous two mobile apps, is that if you mark a verb in a certain way and there's an alternative parsing for it, it will pop up with a little dialogue to tell you that there's an alternate parsing for it as well. So that means that you can learn as you go. Maybe you forgot to mark that it was a nominative or accusative, and it will just tell you, hey, this could also be accusative if you marked it as nominative, and so on. So that's a really helpful little feature too. Even though it doesn't align with or explicitly align at least with a grammar, it does seem to be aligned with Mounce's Basics of Biblical Greek. Now, that means that you can pick, it's not by chapter, but the concepts largely seem to follow Mounce's order of concepts. So that makes this quite easy and quite applicable for those of you who are using Mounce's Basics of Biblical Greek. If you're using something else, the ordering may be a little different, but hopefully you can figure that out as well. It does have some weaknesses, in my opinion. First one is you can't control how many words you see in a review cycle. So with ParseGreek, for instance, you can say, just show me 10 words in random, whereas in mastergreek.com, you don't get that. All you have to do is it's just going to give you a bunch of words and you just keep going until you're fed up with doing them or you're ready to move on and try something else. I would prefer it if you had that ability to actually limit the number of words to say 10. That gives you a defined finish. And that means you can say, okay, I'm going to sit here and do these until I get through at least, say, 10 of these. I also found the interface for this app a little frustrating at times. On the mobile device, the controls are quite small, and that means that you're pecking around at kind of tiny little controls. I'd like those to be bigger. That would make this a little bit more accessible. I also found the size of the little pop-up that comes up to tell you when you got it right or what the parsing was or alternate parsings. That, again, is a little frustrating. It's not so bad on mobile, but it would be nice if you could just tap outside of that to clear it or press escape. On the desktop, if you're using this app on a desktop, that requires a movement of the mouse button. And again, it'd be nice just to hit escape on a keyboard to be able to get through that. So I found that just a little bit cumbersome as well. And the other thing on the desktop particularly, this site is funded by ads, and the ads on this just become distracting and they really dominate a lot of the screen, particularly if you're using this in a regular size web browser. I felt this was just a little frustrating. Now, the ads that they provide there are targeted. So what I mean by that is he's providing you not only with a book, but also telling you why this book is good, which is kind of nice. But honestly, those ads are just in the way. And I guess this is one of the benefits of a free app versus an app you pay for. If you've got an app you pay for, you don't get any ads because you paid for the software developer. If you got the free one, then you're going to be paying through the advertisements. So it's up to you. Personally, I don't like ads, and so I would prefer to pay for an app up front than to have those there. So that's my view of mastergreek.com. Now, works on either both a mobile or a desktop. The previous ones, Greek verb parsing and ParseGreek, are both mobile only, not available on desktop. This one is available on both desktop and mobile. The next two are available on the desktop. Okay, so the first of these I'm going to look at is called Paradigms Master Pro. This is probably the most well-known desktop-based parsing app available today. This is available on both Mac and PC, so it's multi-platform, so it doesn't work on mobile devices at all. It is available in both Greek and Hebrew, which is a nice distinction from the other apps. So the other thing about Paradigm Master Pro is it's not going to ask you for the lexical form, okay? And so it's going to give you the lexical form at the end, but it's not going to ask you for it as part of the quiz, which in my opinion is a pro. One of the nice things about this, you can choose how many forms you want to see. So you can quiz yourself on say 10 words and it will randomize them and give those to you. So that's a nice to have. The other thing I really like about this is it gives you good feedback and clarity on how many you got right and you've got wrong. And it's going to tell you that you're correct. If you get it wrong, it's going to tell you how you got it wrong. And one of the nice things about how you got it wrong in this app is it's actually going to tell you the parsing you gave, what it would have looked like if that parsing you gave was correct. Now, if there's an alternate parsing, it's also going to give you that, which again is a wonderful feature. I think this is an awesome feature that every app should have. That alternate parsings should just be a no-brainer. And you can also see very clearly how many you've got right, how many you've got wrong, and how you're progressing as well. One of the things that I think is an obvious missing point in this is there's no connection with any of the grammars that are available on the market today, which means that you get to choose based on the type of word you're doing or the type of grammar you're working on, and not so much based on the concepts and vocabulary of a grammar that you're working on. I think that would be one way to really improve this app. So that's Paradigm Master Pro. This is a solid app on the desktop, and I thoroughly recommend this app. The last one I want to introduce you to, and I say introduce you to on purpose because you've probably never heard of this app, it's called Trainer. And this is from scrolltag.com. Now, scrolltag.com is a website by an individual named Joshua Grauman. Now Joshua has built these apps himself from scratch, and Trainer is a really solid app. It works unlike all of the others. This one works on Mac, PC, and on Linux. So it works on pretty much any desktop platform you want. And if you really wanted to, you could possibly hack it to work on your Amazon Fire or Android device as well. Now, unlike Paradigm Master Pro, this one does give you the option to spell out the lexical form of the words. Now, it gives you a keyboard for doing that, so you don't even have to know the keyboard mapping on your computer for this. Now, Trainer has some real benefits to it. First of all, it's very flexible. Not only is it flexible in the sense that it gives you every option down the bottom and doesn't sort of remove them and add them like some options do. So for instance, in ParseGreek, if you're looking at a noun, it's going to take away all the verb forms to the bottom of the screen, so you don't accidentally choose a verb form, which I think is actually unhelpful. This one will give you all the forms. You have to figure out, is this a noun? Is this a verb? Is this an adverb? What is it? And so it's going to give you all those options. Now, it also has some ability to change the interface a little bit. So you can go from test to practice, and then you can get access very quickly to the morpheme charts. They're right there. It'll pop up in a window and more. In fact, one of the real benefits of this app is that it allows you to click on the different parts of the word, and it will then walk you through what that part of the word actually means and does to this word. So you can click on, say, the morpheme in the middle there, and you can see, well, this is an aorist morpheme, for instance. So you know this is an aorist form. Or you can click on the stem and you can see it's a second aorist stem. So this is huge in terms of pedagogy, in terms of learning how the words work. This is really, really helpful. And at the end of it, you can actually click on show all and just show every element on the screen all at once, and then you know exactly how this word was formed. This really sets this app apart from all of the other apps. And in my opinion, this is a feature that I would like to see in every parsing app. I think this is just so beneficial and so helpful. But this app is not without its flaws. Some of these flaws are fairly small. For instance, it asks you to distinguish between aorist and second aorist, and I don't think that that's particularly helpful. Maybe it is as you're going through the second aorist forms and say mounts, but once you get out of beginning Greek, most professors don't care whether it's first or second aorist. It's just it's aorist. And so defining and having a second aorist is kind of a little pedantic in my opinion. But then that kind of defines this app in some ways, because this app is so granular and has so many controls that you get really a lot more control over exactly what's going on than with the other apps. And this is actually part of the drawback of this as well. There are some of these controls just aren't clear what they actually do. You know, I'm not sure what to do with, say, these things up here, and it's just not obvious. There's no help file that I can find either. So these things could be, I think, improved. So I think this is a great app in many ways. It's a little difficult to use, a little difficult to learn how to use it, but it works well. It's got some great benefits, and it's a little cheaper than Paradigm Master Pro as well. I got one more thing I want to talk about, but before I talk about that, let me just encourage you to go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. It really helps me and helps this video to get found on YouTube. Now, here's the question. Which one of these is best? Well, honestly, as I've thought about and wrestled about this question over the last week, as I've been thinking through this, and even beyond that, it's not easy to come up with one of these is the one you should have. They all have pros and they all have cons. You got to have to work through the features that are here and work out which features are important to me. And it comes down to this. The pedagogical help you get with Trainer may be really helpful for you. Then again, it may be that you want to be mobile first, in which case none of those desktop apps are really going to cut it for you. Or it could be that you want to work with a grammar, in which case one of the apps that works with a grammar is going to be helpful, and probably in that case it's going to be ParseGreeker because that has the best grammar support. Or maybe it's going to be the ability to quiz yourself and get that feedback about, I got it wrong, but what should it have been? In which case Paradigm Master Pro is probably going to be your best choice. Or perhaps you just want something that's going to lay it out step by step, and you just have to figure it out one step at a time, in which case Greek verb parsing is going to be the best. See, it's not easy, right? So I reckon this is a field that is ripe for further improvement. Here's what I'd like to see in the ultimate parsing app. I'd like to see grammar synchronization, at least with the main grammars that are being used today. I think the pedagogical helps that are in Trainer should be in every app. That is so helpful. And for a beginner, I just don't think any of the other apps can come near that in terms of just practical pedagogical help. I think every one of these apps should show you the alternate parsings. If you got it right, but it's only one of the possible parsings, every app should show you the other possible parsings. On top of that, it should also show you if you got it wrong, but it's a fair form, what that form would have looked like. Paradigm Master Pro does this, and I think that's a great feature, and it would be great to see that in other apps as well. And one thing that I felt was missing from all of these apps that would be obvious is the ability to parse words in a particular book of the Greek New Testament. So all the forms that are in that book, say 1 John or the Gospel of John or Mark, wouldn't it be awesome to just say, show me all the forms in Mark and I want to parse those forms? But that's my wish list for a parsing app. And so if you are thinking about, or you are a producer or creator of one of these parsing apps, that would be my list of things to include inside this. But that's my suggestion. That would be my ultimate parsing app. So what about you? What would you like to see in a parsing app? Which ones of these have you tried? And what features do you think are missing or would you like to see in the future? And what I'm hoping to do is next year, redo this video and talk about what's been changed and what's been updated in these apps as they continue to improve. But let me know in the comment section below, what features do you want to see in a parsing app? What features do you value the most? And tell me which one of these apps have you used or would you like to use going forward in the future. And I look forward to interacting with you and seeing your comments there. So again, let me just ask you one last time, click the subscribe button if you haven't already done so and hit the notify bell. And if you don't already have my free roadmap to mastery of the Greek New Testament, go to masterntgreek.com/roadmap and download your free copy today. Keep taking small steps and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. We'll see you then. If you're interested in learning to read the